Good morning, dear students. So I'm here with the page of the Indian Express. So let's begin today's session, and it is 1st November 2025, and let's begin today's session. Okay. So this is the front page of the Indian Express. So let's read all the important headline so that you will aware of all the important news and everything and what's happening in the economy. Okay. So let's read it. So, Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. So this is the Shahid Divas of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. Okay, of the eternal symbol of sacrifice and peace in humanity. Okay, so let's read it. On 31st October, we celebrated the Unity Day, and on 1st November, we celebrate the Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahab Divas. Okay, so let's read the news. Okay, why the economic page is in the top? Let's read it. Let's read it. So, India increase has to spend instead of keeping the cash. India's investment rate must rise to 34 to 35% for 7% growth. Okay, more decentralization needed. Use tech in agriculture. Okay, multiple tech pathways, pulled resources, and faster vehicle DVPT. Okay, so trailing in EV race, Japan's car makers plan a reboot. Reboot means restart. Okay, so what Japan try to make and what are the plans of the car makers of Japan? So let's read it. Focus on solid state battery development. Okay, an advantage of solid state battery is that the electrolyte is solid. SSB are also characterized by being highly stable because they are resistant to change in temperature and can robustly strongly endure high temperature and high voltage, but producing them in large volume is costly and difficult. Problems include the extreme sensitivity of the batteries to moisture and oxygen. Okay, so it's about the high battery which are used in the manufacturing of vehicles. I think it's about electronic vehicles. So this is the new plan of Japan. This is written here in the economic page. Okay, so read it in detail if you want. Okay, so we already read about it, but I will try to explain it in detail. More decentralization needed. Use technical in agriculture. I mean to say that the author just tried to explain that the centralization from the long time there is decentralization, but this time we have to see decentralization. We use the technique of decentralization by using technology and in agriculture. Okay, so we have to use technology in agriculture because it's India is a vast country in terms of population or everything, or in economy it secure the fourth position. Okay, so they have to develop their technology in agriculture sector. Okay, so this is the thing written here. So ESC PM chairs Mahendra Dev, second from right, represent the fourth Rohini Nayar Prize for outstanding contribution to rural development to Vidya Parshuramkar in New Delhi on Friday. Okay, so this is the thing. IKEA parent INGKA announced Rajasthan solar power project. We already read about the news of ISA, Indian Solar Alliance, and which is inaugurated by the president. And the place of that ISA were inaugurated is, I think, Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so Move on to the another one. So upgrades 27 old A30320. Okay. Uh, Plan with new cabin interiors. Air India completes what first phase of legacy fleet retrofit program. Okay. CII for simpler TDS regime, faster dispute settlement. CII means Confederation of Indian Industry. Okay, where they settle about the Indian tax system and they simply the technology driven by giving a new budget of 26-27. Okay, and it boosts aligned taxation policy with the vision of Vikshit Bharat 2047. Okay, so this is the thing. TDS, you know the full form of TDS, all commerce students know. TDS means tax deductible at source, and this is the design. Okay, centers capex 40% in H1, fiscal deficit widens, Indian oil resumes Russian crude purchase. Okay, so Nvidia CEO hopes Blackwell chip can be sold in China. Okay, so this is the front page, the Indian Express. So we already read about the economy page, and at that economy page we discuss all the important event and things whichever is happening and whatever is happening in the economy. Okay, so read it and try to read it in detail because you will get a lot of idea. Okay, so this is the thing. And if you are unable to see the page clear, I will provide you the PDF in the description. Okay. So from there, please download the link and download the PDF. So what's in it? Pact signed in Kuala Lumpur. India US seal 10-year defense partnership framework signal strategic convergence. Okay. Critical to free open Indo-Pacific, says Rajnath. Hegseth calls it cornerstone for regional stability and deterrence. Okay. Russia remains popular destination as Ukraine war grinds on. Georgia new hub for Indian medical students. Indian returns for education in Georgia jumped 5 times since 2018-19. Patel wanted to merge all of Kashmir with India. Nehru did not let him. Prime Minister, okay? Prom agencies can't summon lawyers over advice to clients unless exception satisfied Supreme Court. Mumbai hostage plan hatched 3 months ago, procuring motion sensor holding dry runs. The child who was so quiet hid herself. Now she is able to face everyone. And the name of the child is Jemima Rodriguez with her parent after her knock of 127 helped India win the World Cup semi-final against Australia. Okay, so this is the second page and this is the detailed explanation of the first page. Okay, this is the news of the city. Okay, so in today's news, I am just going to tell you about the most important thing that I just want to say that everyone should have to know from the recent time. At all newspaper there is a topic and there is one of the most important topic, and the topic is about the air quality index of Delhi. But this time I wrote in the I read on some news channel or in newspapers that this time Delhi is not in top 10 in the worst air quality index. Okay, this time the I think some one of the village or state of district of Rajasthan is in the top position of average AQI in October. Okay, and Delhi secured the position of 13th. How I telling that securing position is 13 and it is not it is the worst position also, because this is the range of air quality index in India or in anywhere. Okay, so according to this index, Delhi is in the 14th. And thought about it, think about it, that in the 14th position Delhi's air quality index is approx 600, means it's from the bigger worst. Okay, सबसे कम ये, and this is the least, and after that this is the going, just this is increasing. Okay, and this is the range, this is written here, and this is the last range where the condition of air is severe, unable to breathable, means a lot of harmful gases are presenting in air. This is the condition. Okay, when the air quality index is between 401 to 500, but all the top 10 states crossed 500, and top 10 states and cities, I think. But after that, Delhi is in 13th position. Think about it, Delhi's air quality index is almost, I think it's 600 something. So look at the data. What is the condition of air in Delhi? Okay. Water supply of those who do not settle dues by March 31st set to be discontinued. Okay. Cloud seeding can't be a reliable strategy to tackle pollution in Delhi, says IIT study. October air second worst in 5 year. Okay, October air. Still Delhi in the 13th position. I'm just shocking that the district of Rajasthan is it in the top 10, means in the top 1 position of the worst air quality index. This is the condition of air in the economy. Okay. Bikers chase journalist, smash her car window. Noida airport closer to opening after success of calibration flight. At Travancore Palace tomorrow, Mumbai-based Symphony Orchestra of India set to make a rare visit to Delhi. Draft proposal for government's new excise policy to final stage. Zamia student protests saffron narrative in event at Foundation Day. More than 2,700 killed in 1984 Delhi anti-Sikh riot. 41 years on, 13 murder conviction fewer than number of panels that propped riot. Dubai-based cybercrime racket busted in City 5 held. So this is about the Bihar assembly election. Read it each and everything if you want to read, because it's just current affairs in terms of election and what is happening in Bihar. All thing is written here. Okay. So finally we are at the editorial page. Power position do not yield to argument, however rationally and morally valid, but only to superior power. Okay. The anti-climate hoax. If Trump denialism is dangerous, Bill Gates' complacency in grab of reasonable trade-off is more so. So inside it, the Pratap Bhanu Mehta, we read a lot of article of it. Okay, so Pratap Bhanu Mehta just trying to explain about the denialism, means how Trump denies is dangerous. Bill Gates' complacency in grab of reasonable trade-offs, and so more. Okay, so the author just try to explain us the technological prerequisite Prerequisites for abundance and welfare have existed for a century, yet the institutional, social, and ideological barrier that prevent technology from serving the poor remain stubborn. Technology is never freestanding. It is always embedded in political and financial structure that determine who benefits. The attack on climate preoccupation for the most part shield those structures from the nation state to global finance, from inspection. Scrutiny means inspection, okay? So the author just want to tell us about the technological prerequisites. Okay, meaning of, can you tell me the meaning of prerequisites? And for the abundance means more, a lot. Okay, and welfare have existed for centuries. Okay, so these are the thing about the technological, about the institution, and how the barriers that affect the poor. Okay, this is the thing written here in this passage. So read it in detail and you will get the idea. Okay, what the author mainly want to say. So US President mm, Trump has declared victory over the climate change hoax, citing Bill Gates' recent memo downplaying the essential risk of global warming. This was predictable but revealing. At one level, the world should not be frustrated. Compared to the United States, countries like India and China have at least spared themselves outright denialism. Okay, so Bill Gates' argument Trump appropriation notwithstanding is not denialist, not is it a call to ignore climate change, yet his reframing of priorities is in some ways more insidious, a classic case of re-diversion with plausible deniable. It seeks to take the focus away from the immediate problem of temperature rise. Okay, so without quoting essential risk, it downplays with the late economist Martin Wichmann called the central truth of climate economic, that the extreme downside, the catastrophic tail risk, is non-negligible. Gates seems to think technological innovation alone can make the risk disappear, and he suggested that the excessive focus on climate change divert attention from more immediate cause of suffering such as health and poverty reduction. Okay, so where the gate argument with the Trump, and they says that more insidious and more diverse and plausible deniability. Okay, and where they focus on the problem of temperature rise means all the type of climatic changes whichever is happening in the economy. Okay, they all saw it and they make a lot of argument, and from that argument they conclude that the all the changes is not deniable. Okay, and this will be a catastrophic means it's a disaster, and it will risk the it's a non-negligible risk. Okay, where the Trump says we do not divert the attention from the changes in the climate because it all suffer the health and the poverty reduction. Okay, so fatigue is thakawat surrounding collective climate action. Okay, on climate or action on climate, where GIT is doing the alarmism can be paralyzing, but the alarming is okay. It was responding to the complacency that Gate is now reenactive, reenacting. There has always been some gaming of climate discourse, but this new downplay of risk, the retreat into techno solutionism, is attractive for psychological, not scientific reason. It offers get out jail free card. Okay, so this mainly talk about the climate change and what are the solution that is given by the Bill Gates. Okay, so this is the communication between them where this says about the technological progress, especially in China, which remark the climate dangerous. Okay, which remark the new software which is dangerous for climate. Gates' argument fails to reckon with the already serious effect on climate change, with high risk that even 3-degree world would, would pose, not lead to humanity diminish is a non-sensible response to which man central concern. Okay, where it and it potential makes its important reason for the climate change matter is to make other makes every other challenge, health, poverty, inequality, harder to solve. Okay. Okay, so due to the climate change, all the problems are just hard to solve. Okay, harder to solve means it's become critical to solve. Okay, so innovation is essential. Okay, but the resources that we have is just sufficient or scarce. So use it wisely. This is by the Gates. Okay, Bill Gates. Poverty and health. So it's a technological precautions which abundance welfare have existed for century. Okay, so technology is never freestanding, which embedded political and financial structure who benefit climate preoccupation. The most part shield those structure from the nation state to global finance from inspection. Okay, so the claims and the attention of climate change divert resources from combating disease and poverty to put means they mostly say about the condition whatever that is happening in the climate and what are the discussion between Bill Gates and US and how they conclude the topic of China in terms of inventions and innovations. They just try to premisize the experience and so the trajectory means disastrous attempting of dramatic energy. Okay, where they mainly show that the growth, the ordinary government's failure not specific to climate change but the underlying fatalism that grow and technology will solve everything will only be reinforced. Okay, so what science and true science is beginning to play out in American politics. Okay, where does this leave the world? The US is official is denial that will seep downward and outward to light across the globe. China is betting on massive techno solutions, but it still does not add up for the planet. Countries like India and Brazil are caught in performative environmentalism pitch perfect plan. If denialism was dangerous, complacency may prove even more so, especially because it now we are the grab of reasonable trade-off. Okay, into the SRK multiverse. Here, desires and anxieties of a generation are addressed in an adored figure. Okay, what are the another topic? India's superpowers. Now for the final. Indian women cricket team successfully run chased in World Cup semis, raise hope of greater Trump means victory. Call it Halloween. This is the ideas page. Bias in the classroom means partiality, where the teacher's expectation can shape a child's confidence as much as great evidence from Bihar shows how shuttle. Okay, shuttle means the small, perception reinforce means strong, and social inequality. Okay, okay. So multilateralism after the United Nations. The another topic is this. All the topics are important, so read it. Okay, okay. After Kafka and beyond him, this mainly talk about the Kafka and the author Vipul Anikant. Just give the idea of Kafka. Okay, so read it. The idea page. It also give a lot of detailed explanation about. अच्छा mm, so let's read the government and politics page. If you want to read the idea page, read it. Hmm. Okay, so let's read, sorry, the headlines of government page. Okay, before reading, I just want to tell, read each thing in detail. I just tell you the headline, but you have to read each thing in detail. Hamdani Mafia, Yogi targets Sahabuddin son in Siwan. Okay. After open defiance meet with rebel, ADMK expels four-time minister Sengotiayan. Okay, let's read the page of Express Network. As price plummets, farmer sees red. Okay, US, Russia to be a part of mega Indian Navy drill in February. Supreme Court refuses to let chief secretaries appear virtually in stray dogs cases. Murder of first woman mayor of Chittor, her husband in 2015, nephew gets death sentence. Read it because I don't think this is relevant. I will only read the relevant one. Where is the explanation page? These all are about the sports. This is also the Express network page. Oh, here is the explanation. End of Congress dominance. Period of many first for Bihar. Bihar's chief minister. Okay. So the author Syamlal Yadav give the idea and overview of the Bihar's assembly and what's happening in the Bihar and whatever the condition. These all things are written here and what are the history of elections in Bihar. Okay. Let's read the economics page, economics topic, where it explains the decoding India's projected GDP. Union Minister Piyush Goyal recently said India would become $30 trillion economy in the next 20 to 25 years. However, this seems unlikely to happen unless India's current rate of economic growth is increasing. Udit Mishra, the author, just try to explain the same idea what the Goyal said in the sentence of the trillion economy in the 20-25 years. Okay. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal. Okay, where the country does not strike trade deal under duress. So the Berlin Global Dialogue last week he said we do not deal in hurry, we do not deal with deadlines or with a gun on our head. Okay, where the Goyal gave the India's approach was that we had like to really look at the long term. Okay, in the 2024 in 2025 they in the years they recognize the India's economy will be $30 trillion. Okay, so the communication based on the future, a trade deal is in the long term, and we have to recognize the future and get the best deal. Okay, so the India's economy is going with from the strength to strength, and even though the moment the US economy is almost 8 times the size of India's economy in coming 25 years, the gap will be narrowed. India's economy will roughly the same level as the US is at present. Okay, in 25 years, as the economic growth rate and the size of the economy, even the projected one, are big enough variable determine India's trading stance. It worth examining like lead it is for India's to become a $30 trillion economy. What does the size of economy means? So economy refers to the annual GDP and the GDP is the total value of goods and services produced within the country in a year. Okay. So the size of economy give a sense of overall heft of economy in global affairs. It is a way to keep score. That's because if an economy produces more or spend more, depending on how you calculate the GDP, it indicates the relative prosperity and economic vitality of that country. For instance, the US GDP at end of December 2024 was around 29.2 trillion. Okay, in 2024, the financial year, the India's GDP was $3.9 trillion. The GDP of California, the US state, was 4.1 trillion in 2024. Okay, see, so the analogy is imperfect but useful. The GDP is likely the overall runs scored by team in the whole year. Okay, so substantially more than others throughout the year or will end up winning more matches and could be judge a stronger team. How is GDP calculated? Country's GDP is stated in US dollar. Okay, remember today's GDP, okay? 3.9 trillion dollar. Okay, it's almost in trillion, okay? Trillion dollars. And we know and that the GDP is uh, calculated in dollar. Okay, and this is the thing that is written here in US dollar, okay? Look at the change. In 2014, the US dollar is 65 rupees, but in 2024, the US dollar is 84. Okay, India's GDP in dollar term was still 3.9 trillion. How valid are Goya's projections? Prediction, I think, since projection is about 25 years into the future, and data reveal that India's nominal GDP has registered in CAGR. So, if one presumes that India's growth will be exactly the same and the rupee will be depreciated exactly in the same manner over the coming 25 years, then India's GDP will cross 30 trillion in 2048. That's exactly 27 years from now. GDP is increasing day by day, and the big authorities and the big figures calculate that in and predict that in recent years the GDP will grow much more than US economy. Okay, US GDP. Now still the progress in India is and the development in India is less. Why? Why is India is still developing country? Can anyone tell me the answer of this in the comment section? Then what's the problem? It is fine to use a growth trajectory from the past 25 years, but India's growth momentum has weakened since 2014. The data reveal that in the past 11 years, the CAGR of nominal GDP has been 10.3%, while the CAGR of rupees depreciation has been 3.8%. In other words, economy is growing at a slightly slower rate while the rupee is depreciating at a slightly higher rate. Okay, so if instead of past 25-year data, one uses the past 11 years data, the projection of India's GDP goes significantly. Of course, the orange section of table shows calculation India's GDP will cross $30 trillion around 2055. Okay, is it the big divergence? What is the upshot? It is the one of the best topic in today's session. Read each and every line in detail because it explains the upcoming prediction of GDP by the author. So read it in detail, okay? Legal battle over machineries in Bengal. What happened after Supreme Court's order? Okay, so I am going to end today's session. Okay, if you like my content, then please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.